Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ripple Revolution. This interview is part of a global event featuring conversations with a diverse collaboration of speakers who are boldly creating an intentional life, acting as beacons to guide and inspire others to pursue their soul's purpose while living authentically for the benefit of future generations. I am your host, Pete Stedman. It is time to live your soul's purpose and initiate change. Today, I'm very excited to interview the incredibly inspiring Sir Darren Jacklin. Welcome, Darren.
Grateful to be here, Pete.
So for those who are not familiar with Sir Darren's work, for over 25 years, Sir Darren has traveled 4 continents and personally trained and developed over 1 million people in 50 countries, including 157 Fortune 500 companies. He has rung the closing bell at NASDAQ twice in New York City. He has helped to take a company from startup to multi-billions with over 82,000 people in 20 countries over 5 continents. Sir Darren Jacklin has committed $100 million over the next decade towards global philanthropy projects through his family foundation. He serves on multiple paid boards of public and private companies. He owns a group of companies with dedicated teams of people who run all the day-to-day operations. So Darren, it's such a joy to have you with us today.
I'm grateful to be here and be in service and make a contribution.
Thank you. So let's dive in. So the topic for our talk today is how to transform obstacles into income-producing opportunities. It's super obvious from your bio that you are incredibly successful. However, you didn't have privileged upbringing and faced many, many challenges growing up. Please, can you share a little about your childhood and what gave you the strength and or the motivation to succeed?
Yeah, great question. So I grew up in a middle-income family in Canada, a little city called Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada, less than 20,000 people in population. And my mother worked in a hospital, a palliative care unit of a hospital as a nurse's assistant, and my father worked in engineering. And so I failed grade 1 of public school and was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. So it was determined to put me into special education classes in special education school. So from grade 1 all the way through to grade 12 of public school, I was in special education. And so I had a lot of adversities with my self-confidence, my identity, and playing with other kids, interacting with other kids. So when I was 7 years of age, I created my first little business called Rent a Kid. And I would go out and cut grass, shovel snow in the wintertime, and deliver newspapers 6 days a week in my neighborhood. And I was always one of these kids that I thought, rather than bugging my parents for money or allowance money, what if I just go solve a problem in my community? I go rake leaves, I go shovel snow, I deliver newspapers, I paint fences, I remove garbage or junk, and I just find different opportunity zones. And then as a fair means of exchange, if I get paid some money for that, then I can go to the store and meet with the supervisor or manager and put money down on a layaway and towards buying a bike. And so growing up was challenging. So when I got into junior high school, I struggled with my identity, with low self-esteem, very insecure. I felt I didn't matter. I wasn't important. I felt I was stupid. I was never smart enough, never good enough. And so I got through junior high school, then got into grade 11. And one day I was taken out of class by a guidance counselor and a school teacher one day. And they said, Darren, based on your academic marks, you're probably not going to graduate from grade 12 and ever go on to college or university. So we're just curious, in terms of career planning or planning beyond high school, if you do graduate, what do you plan to do? And I said, I want to travel the world. I want to serve people. I want to, make a lot of money, have a lot of fun, and make a big difference in the world. But it was never about the money. Money to me was a tool to create freedom, to live life by design, by giving choices. I'm one of these guys that don't like being told what to do, right? And so I like to live life on my own terms, go to bed when I'm tired and wake up when I'm done sleeping. And people say, well, how do you do that? I do that consistently. And because I want to own my calendar. That was a big thing, is owning my calendar, owning my day, was what I wanted to do. And I've been an employee, and I'm not a great employee because I like to always outperform. And so that day was really challenging for me in the guidance counselor's office when the teacher said to me, Darren, you're probably not going to go far. You got these big goals, these big ambitions. You're a dreamer. You're a visionary type personality. But for you to accomplish these things. And so one of the things I want to share with people is some life lessons, unpack some life lessons. First thing is, And if people are taking notes, to write this down, most of your goals and dreams do not require your actions. And so a lot of people, when they research or do due diligence on me and they look at my backstory, my come up story, now my success stories and my home runs and victories and wins with what we've done, they think, well, you've only got 24 hours in a day, Darren. You only got 168 hours in a calendar week. How can you do all these things in all these different cities and countries and continents and time zones and still maintain an extraordinary relationship with Tatiana and do things that you do and maintain physical health and fitness and balance in your life? And I mean balance in terms of mental well-being, right? Because there's a lot of organized chaos sometimes that's going on in my life. But most of our goals and dreams don't require actions. It's all about creating teams and teamwork. So we delegate the responsibilities, but maintain the control. So when I was going through school, I started to hire kids in my neighborhood, to come work with me. I'm 50 years of age now. I celebrated my 50th birthday this year. And, when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, my best friends in my neighborhood would work with me. Well, I'm 50 years of age today. Those still friends that I grew up with are still great friends with me to this day. So it's all about building long-term relationships and what I call relationship equity. So when you build relationship equity, people get to know you, they get to like you, and they get to trust you. Unfortunately, today with social media and with technology today, we are in a transactional world today where you meet somebody on one of the social media channels, they friend request you, then they pitch you with some opportunity or some kind of thing to join, and it's just transactional. If we step back and look at that, and I look at what are the KPIs, the key performance indicators, the results, when we live in a transactional world, people don't get to know you, like you, and trust you. One of the secrets behind my success, when I've reflected over the last 50 years of my life, is build long-term relationships, build relationship equity. So when you meet somebody, it's about being a go-giver rather than a go-getter. Find ways to be in service, because the secret to living is giving. The secret to living is giving. And something I always share with people is that your success is someone else's miracle. So I encourage you to become successful. However people define success on their terms, perseveringly, become successful. Because the more successful you become an inspiration and a blessing or a miracle to other people. People say that I've created a lot of financial wealth. Well, our wealth goes into our family foundation, which would create $100 million over the next decade towards global philanthropy projects. So we're paying it forward and passing it on. So I'm not driven by money, even though I've built some multi-million-dollar companies and got a lot of great investments, and I'm very good at managing and multiplying money. But what I'm good at is finding ways to solve problems that serves the human need of humanity. And that's what I love. So the secret to living is giving. And so we learn, we go to school, we learn, and then we grow up and we earn financially, and then we return, we pay it forward and pass it on. So we learn, earn, and return. And I always say when people are involved in doing things, it's either your time, your talent, or your treasures. So some people have time on their hands and they can volunteer for their church or nonprofits or service clubs or community school groups or nonprofit organizations. They contribute their time. Other people have talents. They have certain skill sets and mindsets and resources and connections and access to people and places and things. So that's their resources, their time, their talent, and then their treasures. Some just want to write a check financially and pay for something. And that's great. You can do that. So I always say to people, what are you going to do in your life? Is it your time, your talent, or your treasures? Or is it a combination of the time, talent, and treasures? And so I actually ended up graduating from high school. I went off. I did multiple suicide attempts to end my life because I had no direction. I had no focus. I had no purpose as a man. And my final attempt at driving my car at 85 miles an hour or 140 kilometers an hour towards the telephone pole, I stopped the car and I just got scared. I said, I can't do this. So I drove into a 24-hour telephone crisis line center. And I rang the door buzzer and a lady came out and she said, can I help you? I said, I'm trying to commit suicide and I'm scared and I need help. And I turned myself in and I asked for help. And that was one of the things in my life is ask for help, right? Ask for help. People will help you. If you're going through an adversity or a failure or challenge or a setback right now in your marriage or your relationship or your finances or your health or your job or your career or with your children, you're having challenges, ask for help because people will step up and line up to serve you and help you when you ask for help. And that was a thing for me because I was always embarrassed as a kid. I wanted to look good and I didn't want to look bad. It was my image and my ego that kept me stuck in my life. And so what I realized that after those suicide attempts, the counselor said to me, he said, Darren, we're going to introduce you to a Dale Carnegie program. So back in the 1990s, I took a Dale Carnegie training program. And some of your listeners will remember a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that book was a huge turning point in my life. How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so from reading that book and taking away some life lessons and then applying it consistently in my life, I started to see different evidence of results. And so I went from Dale Carnegie training to Toastmasters International back in the 1990s. And I started to learn how to public speak. And I was really scared. I was really in my comfort zone. I was terrified. And I had somebody by the name of Sue Urquhart, a woman. She believed more in me than I believed in myself, Pete. And she said, I believe that this Toastmasters Club can mentor and coach and train and develop Darren to become a world-class speaker and trainer and influence and impact a lot of people's lives. Well, that one woman, Sue Urquhart, back in January of 1995, lit a spark in me that has created a ripple of impact that has served humanity in multiple countries and continents. And, over 1 million people I've trained, developed in my corporate training seminars from 1995 to 2015. But all the other companies we've built now and the family foundation. So realize that our words are powerful, but a lot of times people, and one of the things that I've done to really build my self-confidence and my self-image, because people say to me all the time, Darren, you have very high self-confidence, self-image today. And the reason why is I commit to my commitments. And as an opportunity, I want people to consider looking at, inspect or do an audit, is are you committing to your commitments? What you give your word to. Right? So if you wake up and you're going to run a bunch of errands, you're going to make your bed, you're going to clean your house, you're going to take the garbage out, you're going to mow the lawn, and you don't follow through and commit to those commitments, each time you don't commit to your commitments, it diminishes your self-worth because you don't trust yourself, because you're not able to complete and do complete work. And so the key thing is commit to your commitments, but also do complete work. So one of the ways you build the self-image and your self-confidence is doing complete work and committing to your commitments, which will build your integrity. Because without integrity, nothing works. There's no workability. And so I've learned these things by trial and error and by pain and pleasure and adversities and failures and challenges. From my finances, my 20s and 30s, I was a financial disaster, right? In fact, I was even homeless, living on the streets on welfare for a period of time for a few months in my life. I had the worst possible case scenario credit score history you can get with Equifax and TransUnion Canada here in Canada. And I turned that around. And I've got my money right today, and I'm very financially successful today. And so I know what it's like to eat my next meal out of a garbage dumpster. I know what it's like to be on welfare and collect a welfare check for a couple months. I also know what it's like to make a lot of money and be financially successful, and now want to pay that forward and pass it on to serve a ripple of impact. But I've learned these life lessons that are practical life lessons. And so there's lots that we can unpack here to serve humanity, and I hope people are taking notes and make a difference. And what's in it for me? The joy for me is to collect the stories. When people hear these interviews and they say, I took notes and I applied the actions, and here's the results in my life because my life demonstrates it now. And that's the juice of life for me.
That's incredible. I absolutely love your story. And if people want to know more and want to sort of like you give a snapshot of your childhood and the adversities and how you've overcome those, I highly, highly recommend Darren's book, Until I Become: Purpose, Perseverance, and Payoff. And something I really appreciate or recognize in that is that perseverance is in bold letters in the title. And I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Well, because the key thing is a desire for what you want to do. See, in life, we're either coming from a problem, we're in a problem, or we're heading towards a problem. Just take a look at your last week. Did you come from a problem in your personal life? Just take a look at your life and you're like, yeah, I had a problem with my spouse or my partner, something other. I had a problem with my child. I had a problem with a coworker, colleague, or my boss at work. I had a problem with somebody who cut me off in traffic. So you're coming from a problem. Some people right now are in a problem, right? Personally or professionally in their lives. In some area of your life, you're in a problem. And some of you are heading towards a problem. And so when we can identify the condition of being a human being is that we're coming from a problem, in a problem, or heading towards a problem. Now, how do you transform that problem or that crisis into an opportunity? Or how do you turn that crisis or opportunity into an income producing asset that generates you income? Or take it a step further, rather than just an income, how do you create it as a monthly recurring revenue? So that problem becomes a monthly recurring revenue asset. And so the key thing is that when we watch the news media and we see, oh my gosh, all this stuff going on around the world, and people get, they get defeated and they feel negativity. So they say, great. What if that's God's to-do list? What if that's a way to serve humanity? What if that's a way to solve problems and make a contribution in the world? So we turn that crisis into an opportunity, because here's something to remember. We do not have money problems in life. We do not have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems in life. I used to have the belief system, Pete, that we had money problems. So I'd blame my negative relatives. I blame the politicians. I blame the government. I blame my circumstances and everybody else. But I'd never look at myself realizing that, hey, nobody's a jerk until I show up. Nobody's a jerk until I show up. I'm the jerk in all this. And so what I realized that when I took accountability and responsibility for my actions, because my actions create a ripple of impact. And what I realized early on in my life that, we hear the saying in business that talk is cheap. I really believe that most people cheapen their talk because their words that come out of our mouths have no power. I'll give you an example. So I use an iPhone and I live my life according to my calendar because I've learned in my life from a life lesson that if you want to do something in your life, if it's not structured or scheduled into your calendar, there's no evidence that it exists in your life. So if somebody says to me, I want to do more date nights with my spouse or my partner because there's some challenges in your intimate relationship, if you don't schedule date nights or play dates with your children in your calendar, if you're self-employed or a business entrepreneur and you are commission-based and you're paid based on performance, if you don't schedule revenue-generating activities or income-producing activities into your calendar, maybe color-code it the color green, if you don't schedule it and have reminders, it doesn't exist into your life. It's not going to happen. It's wishful thinking. And then what I do is I take my calendar and I actually link it to my iPhone, where I actually every day set audible and vibrational alarms on my phone. So what it is that I am knowing that early is on time and on time is late. And if people just become impeccable with their time, right? And they just notice that, hey, I'm always early and I'm always on time. If you're 20 times in the situation, you meet somebody 20 times and one time you're late, you're forgiven. You got a free pass. But I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I went to a Christmas party here in Vancouver, Canada. And we got an emailed invitation a few weeks in advance of some set instructions. It was a progressive dinner party, which means it started at a certain time and ended at a certain time. And it was progressive themed thing that was timed throughout the evening. And the instructions said in the invite that if you do not arrive on time for this, please do not attend because it's going to interrupt what we're doing here. And so I arrived early, got there, and this gentleman who's a mortgage broker, a licensed mortgage broker, him and his girlfriend arrived 45 minutes late. And it was really interesting when we're there. We're kind of going through like a briefing of what's going to happen during the progressive dinner that night. And they're going through the attendees who were supposed to be there on time. And they brought this guy's name. And two people, I didn't know who the guy was, this mortgage broker. Two people in the group said, oh, that's so-and-so. He's always late. So in that room right now, the listening in the room is, oh, this guy, he's the late guy. He's always late. That's his identity. So when he comes in, first impression is, oh, you're the late guy. So the question is, are we attracting people or repelling people in our life? So I watched when he came in, when he arrived late with his girlfriend, and nobody in the group at the dinner party wanted anything to do with this guy because they were repelled by him versus attracted to him based on his actions and his integrity. Here's something I like people to remember. Behavior never lies. That's why if you look at the Darren Jack group of companies, our family foundation, Link Foundation, my teams of people, my inner circle are primarily women. Because the reason why it's cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes over the years by not trusting a woman's intuition. I've made costly mistakes and had to write big financial checks by making these mistakes. And I've learned from pain and adversity and a lot of trial and error and a lot of experience that today my inner circle with women, I will ask women on situations if their female intuition feels like they don't feel right. Because I'll give you an example. When we do discovery process and due diligence, when we're investing, we're buying companies right now, we're doing acquisitions in some of our group of companies. And one of the things I always ask in our due diligence and discovery process is that when we go to invest in something, it's a 3-step process: calm, cautious, or nervous. So step number 1 is calm, step number 2 is cautious, and step number 3 is nervous. So calm, cautious, and nervous. So I always say when you're going to go on a date or you're going to do an interview or you're going to meet somebody or you're going to write a check and involve yourself with something, are you calm, cautious, or nervous? And it's a muscle that you develop. And the more you practice this consistently, the more you'll get stronger and stronger at it. And I tell you, it's really powerful when you get a team of people you train to develop and mentor people to do this. So when we look at things, I always ask my team, are you calm, cautious, or nervous? If you're calm, proceed and go ahead and do it. Go meet with the person, go do the deal, get involved. If you're cautious, do a deeper dive of discovery and due diligence. Talk to a lawyer, talk to a business advisor, talk to a CPA accountant, talk to somebody that you respect, admire, and trust has got history and experience. And if you're nervous, never get involved in it. And so I've learned from experience over the years that I get involved in opportunities. And maybe my gut says, oh, I'm a little cautious here, a little bit nervous, but I like the guy, right? And he's enthusiastic. He's a visionary. He's a big dreamer. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it cost me a lot of money and cost me a lot of time and energy. So some things I've learned in my life is that always trust a woman's intuition. I've also learned, being in an incredible relationship with Tatiana, is she is also my best coach. And my ego years ago would deflect that, like, no way. What, my spouse is going to teach me stuff? No, I am open now to her being the best coach because she can see my blind spots and she can also see my insecurities as a man. Once a woman lives with you for 1 or 2 years and she's in close proximity and she's intimate with you within a 1 to 2 year period or less, she will know your blind spots and she'll also know all your insecurities. So let her give you feedback and be open to receiving it, and let her point out the blind spots and the insecurities, because those are growth opportunities. So sometimes people around us in our lives, we're triggered by them. And when we get triggered, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't want so-and-so give me feedback, or she's complaining to me, or she's whining to me, or something like that. Look at it as a growth opportunity that they're giving you feedback to show those blind spots or insecurities. And so these are some of the things that allowed me in my life to now achieve the levels of success in business and my personal lives that people just are inspired by. And this is the stuff behind the scenes that most people don't see on social media, but these are the things that I've learned from experience that have really supported me. And I want to create a ripple of impact and serve other people as well with them.
That's incredible. I can relate to so much of what you're sharing here, and I think it's so impactful for the audience. And I want to invite the audience at this point just to share something in the comments below of what's coming up for you. How is Darren's story, his knowledge, his wisdom? Like, how can you apply that? What's your takeaway from what he's sharing with us here? I'd love to know more about that. There's a couple of things that I want to sort of go into a little bit here. And one of them is opportunities. And so you're wearing a shirt which says Profitopia. There's many people who've come through COVID, and the story they're telling themselves is, oh, it's difficult this, or it's hard this, or is a negative story. Can you share a little bit about Profitopia and how that's come to be?
Absolutely, yeah. So I meet a lot of people as I travel around the world, and I speak at a lot of conferences and conventions and college universities. I just love it. I love making a difference and serving people and in a practical way. And one of the things to consider when people are creating a startup company, people watch Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, these TV shows, either on the internet or television, where they go in and they pitch the dragons or pitch the sharks on venture capital money, right? And the key thing is something to always remember is, if you're going to go into business for yourself or you want to create a side hustle, you can go out and raise startup capital through friends and family, and it's a grind. I've been there, done that. I've had successes, I've had losses and failures as well. It's a grind, it's a hustle. You've really got to persevere and deal with the adversities and the challenges and the headwinds that you're going to take on. So that's one way of doing things with a startup company. Another thing is, and something that people can write down, it's easier to acquire revenue than to create revenue. And that's a completely different mindset shift for people. It's easier to acquire financial revenue than to create revenue. There are millions and millions of businesses around the world that are run by people that have built these companies and have no idea how to sell them, have no idea how to go through a succession plan or how to go through an exit strategy, or what we call a liquidity event or capital event. And so we looked at in the year 2020, we're in a global pandemic of COVID-19. And my wonderful partner, Kevin Marshall from Tucson, Arizona, USA, he's been a CPA, a chartered professional accountant, for 35 years. Great, great guy. And we're collaborating back and forth on Zoom video conferencing with Kevin Marshall and Carl Gould, my other partner, and Tatiana. So the four of us, we're collaborating on Zoom video conferencing during COVID because we're all in lockdown. And we realized that in the United States of America, there's this huge problem. The average CPA, chartered professional accountant, is 59 years of age based on the data. So between 2022 and the year 2030, about 100,000 licensed CPAs across the United States of America are going to retire as baby boomers. Just like in the engineering, just like in dentistry, just in chiropractic, just like in the medical profession, law enforcement, first responders, there's many industries that have an aging population around the world of baby boomers. So how do you turn a crisis that the news media is saying, oh my gosh, labor shortages, all these baby boomers retiring? That's a crisis. That's what the media is putting out there in the headlines. That's the crisis. But what's the opportunity zone? The opportunity is how can we acquire these, for example, CPA firms by using OPM, other people's money, right? So we go out and we have conversations with investors. We create a data room for due diligence and discovery, and we invite people to participate in our opportunity based on our relationship equity that we've built with people, so people get to know us and like us and trust us. And we go out and look at these different acquisition targets of CPA firms across America. So during 2020, the four of us got together. We collaborated virtually on Zoom video conferencing without leaving our home. And today, just a couple years later, we've turned Profitopia, which is an international virtual CPA, accounting firm, auditing, tax planning, bookkeeping company. We've got thousands of clients. We operate with staff across the United States of America. We're in the Philippines, we're in Africa, and we're in India. We're an international 24/7 organization. And by the end of this year, we'll be a $10 million US company in revenue. And we're going to grow and scale this to probably about a $25, $30 million company as a private company. And we're becoming nationally branded across the United States of America. And so I'm grateful to be an equity owner in this company and work on growth and scale and joint venture strategic alliances. So I share this with people because we just saw a growth opportunity to turn a crisis into an opportunity with an aging population of CPAs as baby boomers. We saw an industry that has not been disrupted or changed in many years because accountants don't like change, they don't like risk. But we wanted to help these men and women that are CPAs across America who want to be able to spend more quality time with their family, maybe do some traveling, do some community service, take some time off, put their feet up and just enjoy life versus being in front of a computer screen crunching numbers all day. So we've been acquiring different CPA firms over the last 24 months across the United States of America and rolling them up into our parent company, which is Profitopia.com. And we built it into a multi-million-dollar company. We've got some incredible staff that we're very proud of, and we create a culture. So not only growing and scaling with all these acquisitions and rolling them up into Profitopia, now we create a culture, an environment, an ecosystem where our staff, our international team members want to come to work because we're making a difference and we're having a lot of fun and we're serving and loving all of our clients. And so we're proud of this, what we've done with Profitopia. It's been an incredible experience. So this is one of the group of companies. And the key thing is our success is someone else's miracle. And so we want to become more and more successful because the more and more successful we become and the more we can serve other people, the more we can bless other people and make a contribution across the planet.
That's super cool. I love how you're creating ripples of impact in pretty much everything you're doing and how you see the collaborations, you see the opportunities, you see things from a different perspective. You're seeing where other people are getting stumbling over the challenges. I know one area of your life which is really important to you is your routines and rituals.
Yes.
Can you share a little about your routines and rituals and how that basically influences your day, which ultimately influences your week, your month, your year? And I would like to, just because I'm feeling there's going to be people who will see it. It's like, oh, great, that Darren's doing this, but I don't feel that I can be at that level.
Yeah,
absolutely. But it's like, how can somebody who's at that, like that dark night of the soul, they're at their rock bottom or they feel that they're heading that way. It's like, what is something which people can be integrating into their life now to start to create some forward momentum?
Key thing is your daily habits, your daily routines. So if you study any successful man or woman, whether it's in sports, it's in politics, it's in business, it's in religion, whatever it is, pick any category, you will discover that during the waking hours of the day, there's daily habits and daily routines. So if you look at my backstory, I failed grade 1 of public school, was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. So I had this belief system and this mindset that I can't read. I'm a special education kid. So I ran across a mentor later on in my life, and he shared with me some practical feedback as a mentor to me. He said, first of all, Darren, I want you to commit to reading 10 pages a day of a good book that's going to elevate your life personally and professionally. So is reading 10 pages a day easy to do? Yeah, it's easy to do. For the majority of people, it's easy to read. And is it easy not to read? It's easy not to read as well. So it's easy to read and easy not to read. So that's the difference right there. It's easy to do and it's easy not to do. But if you just commit reading 10 pages a day times 365 days in a calendar year, that's 3,650 pages, which is about 12 to 15 books a year cover to cover. But over the course of a calendar year of 365 days, some days you're not going to read 10 pages. You're going to be more inspired or more engaged or more focused. You might read 17 pages or 30 pages or 50 pages. You might be on an airline or a domestic or international flight or transatlantic flight where you might read a few hundred pages, where I get lost in a book sometimes. So that compounds over the year. Another thing is if you just take a habit or a routine and you invest 15 minutes every single day of committed time. So you schedule in your calendar, maybe have an alarm on your phone, and you just do 15 minutes a day. So you might enjoy gardening. And if you just commit 15 minutes a day, or you might like physical exercise where, you do jumping jacks or push-ups or sit-ups or burpees, or you do squats, right? Or you're on a treadmill, or you're on an exercise bike. You just do 15 minutes a day. Again, easy to do, easy not to do. 15 minutes a day times 365 days is 94 and a quarter hours per calendar year. So people don't realize, like, I have a master plan for my life. I have over 7,000 written goals. Just think about that. Over 7,000 written goals, and my target is to get to 10,000 written goals for my life. Okay. But I keep achieving so many goals, and I keep adding goals, and I've been kind of in this holding pattern for a while of around 7,000 plus goals. And my target is to get to 10,000 written goals. So I realized I got to change my environment and get around people who are thinking even bigger, who've got more written goals than me. And that's why I live an inspired life, because I'm always checking off goals, person goals. So one of the things to look at is that I spend at least 15 minutes every day adding and editing and adjusting, fine-tuning my goals. 15 minutes every day. Again, easy to do, easy not to do, but over one calendar year, that's 94 hours in a year minimum. 94 hours in a year of focused, dedicated time and energy and effort. So people ask, how do you do all the things that you do? I have daily habits, daily routines. I exercise 60 minutes a day. I'm down. Some people who are watching this around the world may recognize I'm 40 pounds lighter. I was 40 pounds heavier. And now people who follow me on social media under Darren Jacklin, you'll see I carry a backpack a lot of times when I'm hiking, and that backpack is 40 to 50 pounds of weight. And people say, but Darren, you're doing a pretty easy hike that day. It's only a couple hours. I carry that weight on my backpack as resistance, but also as a friendly reminder to remind and to honor my body of how much weight I used to carry on my body. When you fill a backpack full of 40 pounds of weight and you put on your back, and you realize how sluggish you are and how it drains your energy and deletes your energy from your body, you're really consciously aware of that. So I do that all the time. I also journal every day. So every day of my life, I journal. I have a journal with me all the time. I also, as a daily habit, here are my top 10 personal promises to myself. So every day, so I have, of my 7,000 plus goals, I have my top 10 goals for each calendar year that I'm committed to. And every morning, every night, 730 times a year minimum, I consistently write down my goals. And there are some days I don't want to do it. I'm tired. I'm jet lagged. It's been a long day. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. But the key thing is I remind myself, am I committed to my commitments? Am I committed to my commitments? What did I give my word to? And so I follow through and I complete it, and I do complete work. And what you'll notice in the first few weeks, a few months, it's hard. But if you're willing to do what's hard, life becomes easier. If you do what's easier, life becomes harder. So when I take people hiking all the time, whether here in Vancouver, Canada, or around the world when I'm hiking, people always ask me, they go, oh my gosh, is it going to be easy this hiking? I said, listen, you want support and challenge. You want a balance of support and challenge. In business, you got to have support and challenge, or you're not going to grow. Right? A lot of times, when I go sailing or boating or hiking, people like, they're fair weather hikers, they're fair weather sailors. They only come out when it's warm and sunny out. If you study me on social media, I go out when it's snowing. I go out when it's pouring rain. I come back, I'm soaking wet right to my underwear. Be like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? Because if you're willing to do what's easy, life becomes harder. If you do what's harder, life becomes easier. So I condition myself, I train myself to do hard things, to do challenging things. And that's the key thing with a lot of people is most people, they want to take the path of least resistance. They want to do things that are easy, but you want to train and develop yourself to do things that are challenging, do things hard. So always pushing yourself out of your comfort zone into your learning zone. Like I remember when I was building my corporate training business, I used to make 400 cold calls a day, 2,000 cold calls a week. Most of them are rejection telephone calls, right? Like a 98% rejection rate, 98%, 2% conversion rate, 98% rejection rate. And that phone at times weighed 500 pounds. And I just like got defeated and beaten up. And I'm sometimes 3, 4, 5 months behind on paying my bills. And I've got collection agencies calling me and creditors sending letters in the mail of demand letters are going to cut off my telephone. And sometimes they did cut off my telephone. And sometimes I had to go out and borrow money or cut grass or shovel sidewalks or do odd jobs to collect as much money to get my phone line reinstalled so I could keep building my corporate training business. And I had adversities and I had failures and I had challenges. And also I realized in my life, Pete, that no one was coming to rescue me. And that was a belief I had for many years in my life, that someone is going to come rescue my family, my friends, the government, welfare. Someone's coming to rescue me. When you can let go and realize that no one is coming to rescue you, you need to rescue yourself. And that was a defining moment and life lesson in my life when I realized that, hey, everybody's doing life their own way. I got to take care of me. That if your bank account has no money in it, that's because of you. If you're overweight, that's because of you. If you're in a dead-end job or career relationship, that's because of you. You got to take accountability, responsibility, and ownership of that. And that's tough love. And you got to look at yourself in the mirror and be accountable for that. Right. And that was big things for me. When I realized that I was consistently financially flat broke, and I would go hang out with 4 broke friends and I was the 5th. And I was sick and tired. And when I turned 40, I said, from 40 to 50, I'm going to dedicate 10 years of my life in getting my money right and become financially independent. And that was my 40s, was all about getting my credit rating back up, restoring my financial integrity, because I was totally out of integrity in many areas of my life financially, from owing money to having a poor credit rating to having a lot of broken agreements and broken promises. I said, I'm going to dedicate my 40s to financial independence and financial freedom. I'm going to study. I'm going to take webinars, courses, classes, join mastermind groups, get around different mentors. I'm going to get around people who are already succeeding at much higher levels than me that have verifiable results. And I'm going to study these men and women. And that's what I did. And so over the last 10 years, I created a lot of financial success because I focused down. And there was days I was going to quit and give up, and it was hard and it was challenging, but I just persevered, just like being on an airplane. Sometimes you're flying on a commercial airplane, you're going to have turbulence. You're going to go through a weather pattern and a weather storm. And it's going to be a bumpy ride. And you got to get to a higher elevation. That's the way life is as well. And so just the other day, I was flying back from Florida back here to Vancouver. And I was looking at my 7,000 goals, and I was mapping out on the flight between 50 and 60, what are my top 100 goals for this decade that I'm going to achieve personally, professionally in my life. And I became very inspired by that. So take time away and go to the mountains, go someplace where it's quiet, and sit down with a journal and write out your life on paper. Create a mission letter or a vision letter for your life and look at where do you want to go personally and professionally, and start to vision out how you see your life in 12 to 24 months or 5 or 10 years or 20 years. Like I have a master plan for my life that's age 100. My life is looked at another 50 years from now. And in Tatiana and I have been collaborating with ourselves and with some other very successful families around the world that are creating generational wealth. One of the families that mentors us is 15 generations. Their family trusts go back to the year 1485. So we have I have a monthly call with them, and they're training us on how to create Link Foundation, our family foundation, for a 250-year legacy plan, 3 generations. So $100 million being spread over 250 years for global philanthropy projects. Whereas a lot of people can't even plan on a 2-week vacation. We're thinking about planning 250 years to serve humanity, right? So it just changes your thinking, but it also attracts bigger thinkers and create a. So I live an inspired life because I'm not successful. People say to me, "Oh my gosh, Darren, you're so successful." No, I'm just a man on a mission. I'm just a man on my mission, just loving people, serving people, wanting to do good in the world, live a man of integrity, and make a contribution to the world in the limited amount of time that I've got here on this planet, run around in this meat suit. And that's what I'm here, is just to pay it forward and pass it on, be in service to other people.
I think that's super, super inspiring. I love I admire the way and the way you've turned your life around, and the commitment and the dedication that you've put into the daily practices and doing the hard work, because in the end, like you say, nobody's coming to rescue us.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to make better choices and take accountability for the choices we have made, and recognizing that life is happening for us, not to us.
Absolutely.
And there's pieces in here, there's so much we could explore here. Like, one of the ones I love is environment. I like you touch on just spending time in nature, which I'm a huge advocate for. I feel that if we could reconnect to nature, we can reconnect to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so just getting out, and there's a section in the book where you talk about hanging out in I think it's the Fairmont in Vancouver.
Fairmont hotels.
Do you want to just share that quickly?
Yeah. So here I am struggling financially to pay my bills on time. I'm upside down. I don't know where my next meal is going to come from. I don't know if my utility is going to be cut off. And I'm really scared, right? There's days I just want to close the blinds and hide my bed covers. And I'm like, I need to get around a different environment. I'm around negative people, and we're struggling paycheck to paycheck. And so I got to get around a positive environment. I got to get around people who are thriving, but I don't have any money. I can't buy tickets. I can't go in these places. So I'd go to the Fairmont hotels, and I'd go hang out in the lobbies of the Fairmont hotels. And in fact, just last week, I went to the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota, Florida with a guy. I met a guy there last week, and he says, "Hey, I read your book, Until I Become. Can we go do something?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "I'm totally scared to do this on my own, but with you, I feel comfortable because you have my back. Can we go to the Ritz-Carlton and hang out in the lobby for an hour?" I'm like, "Sure, let's go do it." So went over there. We went to hang out in the Ritz-Carlton lobby in Sarasota, Florida, USA. But what I would do is, our environment is stronger than our willpower. Environment is stronger than our willpower. Okay. So the key thing is environment is stronger than willpower. So I put myself into opulence, affluent, inspiring environments. Okay. So the thing is, I would go to the Fairmont hotels, and I would go there. And even in Vancouver, Canada, here at YVR, it's Vancouver International Airport, we have a Fairmont at the International Airport. I'll go down there sometimes and have a remote day where I'll spend a few hours in the international departure area at Fairmont, and I'll go buy a tea, right, or a salad, and I'll sit there for a few hours, and I'll make phone calls or work on my computer, or sometimes network with other people that are there. And it puts me into a different environment. When I was growing up, I never felt I was good enough. Never felt I was smart enough. Never felt I mattered or I was valuable. I was scared I was ever going to pass high school. I'd never go to college, university. So what I do to trick my mindset is I'd walk into a public library. And whenever I'd walk into a public library, I just felt smarter walking through the front doors. I would walk by a law firm, and I'd feel smarter walking by a law firm. I'd walk by a bookstore and walk in and feel smarter walking to the bookstore. When I was struggling financially, I would go into a financial district of a major city, and I would walk around there. I'd walk around by a bank because that's where the money is, right? People asked a famous bank robber many years ago, "Why do you rob banks?" He goes, "Well, that's where the money is," right? And now it's all digital, of course, most of the times. But the thing is that I would put myself into inspiring environments. I don't have it here today, but years ago, I went and got some sand. And I actually had a plastic bin, like a packing bin, and I filled it full of sand, and I would be on my laptop computer, and my feet would be in sand, like a sandbox underneath the table. And when it was cold and rainy here in Canada, or some parts it was snowing, I would imagine my feet are on the sand in some beautiful tropical island or private island around the world. And I was location dependent. I was virtual. So I'd play games with myself all the time. I would drive around the neighborhood that Tete and I live in here in Vancouver. Is a beautiful, affluent neighborhood. For 2 years, we drove around here, and we would take pictures, and Tete thought I was absolutely crazy. And we were dream building. And I said, "Tatiana, we're going to work hard. We're going to work smart. We're going to create a strategic roadmap. We're going to set milestones and metrics, and we're going to be here in the next couple of years. I promise you, Tatiana, I give you my word, we're going to be able to live in this environment. We're going to be able to live in this neighborhood." She's like, "Why?" Because proximity is power. Proximity is power. See, you don't have to go out and make a lot of money. You just have to already find people who have made a lot of money and find a way to solve a problem or be in service to them. And money will change hands. Okay? Because we don't have money problems in life, we don't have thinking problems in life. And one of the things that I share with people, if we took down 2 basic steps with people, if I give people 2 actionable steps, it's this: it's requests and promises. And if you did a deep dive and studied my life, it's about requests and promises, and I'll unpack this. Requests are this: for every question that you don't ask, the answer is always no. So most people are not making requests. So what I want people to consider is there's different types of requests. There's just making a request for something. There's a powerful request. There's an unreasonable request. There's an outrageous request. Okay, so these are different types of requests. So when I travel, for example, and I've done this many times around the world, I'll go into a hotel and I'm at the front counter of the hotel, and the man or woman is serving me at the hotel. And they said, Mr. Jacklin, is there anything else we can do for you today? And I said, yes, I'd like to make a request. They're like, okay. And they're thinking smoking or non-smoking room. Do I need an alarm or a wake-up call? Do I need a reservation in the restaurant? Do I need valet parking? That's what they're thinking most times the requests are going to be, like frequently asked questions. And I'll say, yeah, I'd like to make a request. What would it take to receive a complimentary upgrade to the executive floor, the presidential suite, the honeymoon suite, right? One of the executive suites. What would it take to receive a complimentary upgrade? And I'm just making a request. Now, when I make the request, only one of three things are going to happen. Step number one is they'll accept the request. Step number two is they'll decline the request. Or step number three is they'll counteroffer the request. So they'll accept it, decline it, or counteroffer it. But I made the request. And the majority of the time, 6, 7 out of 10 times, they'll give me a complimentary upgrade to a nicer room in the hotel. When you go to a restaurant and the server comes around and says, is there anything else we can get for you? Would you like to take a look at the dessert menus? And I will say, yeah, I'm just curious. What would it take to receive a complimentary dessert today? Well, is it your birthday? No, it's not my birthday. I said, but I really appreciate the customer service here. The food is great. The ambiance is great. I'll give you a great review online. I just like to make a request or public request. What would it take to get a complimentary dessert? And sometimes the server will say to me, well, did I do something wrong? Was the food not right? Was the food not, like, do I need to get a manager? And sometimes I had a supervisor, manager, owner come over to me and said, oh, sir, is everything okay? And I said, let me ask you a question. Everything is okay. But if things weren't okay, what would you do? And they said, well, we give you a discount off the bill, or we give you a free dessert. And I said, why would you reward that kind of behavior? If I'm a raving fan and I had a great time here, the hardest thing about the restaurant is getting butts in the tables and chairs to sit down, right? Heads in beds, as they say, in the hotel industry. So why not reward positive behavior? Because what gets rewarded gets repeated. The financial cost of a dessert is minimal, hard costs. In terms of the upside of the return on investment of having that customer give you a rave review or take a picture, put it on their social media, or come back in again. So the key thing is reward positive behavior. So always start making requests, and you'd be amazed. I had a request for my book, Until I Become. I helped a gentleman earlier this year. Okay. I introduced him to somebody to be part of his company that if he would have went out and hired a recruiting agency, it would have cost him tens of thousands of dollars to hire the recruiting agency. I introduced him to somebody who he got access to through my network that I saved him a lot of money. And this will make him 7 figures on what I did. He ordered thousands of copies of my book to give out to people as gifts. And I was good because it just serves more people. But I just made a request. And I helped him out. And he's like, Darren, what do you need? I said, I'd love for you to order some copies and give them away to your staff and give them away to people. He goes, great. I'll order thousands of copies of your book. So he ordered a whole bunch of copies of my book. Now, I just made a request. Now, the key thing is, so it comes down to requests. Now, the promises are, what do you promise for yourself? So if we look at your goals and dreams for your professional life, what are you committed to? So if we looked at just 10 goals for this year, and you could write down your top 10 goals of professional goals that you want to commit to this year, because most of your goals and dreams don't require your actions. See, people set New Year's goals and New Year's resolutions, and they have goals and dreams professionally in their lives or their company's goals, and they have no idea how they're going to achieve them all. Or they have a vision board and they have no idea how they're going to achieve this vision board on their wall. But they don't realize that most of their goals and dreams don't require their actions. So here's 2 questions. Bonus opportunity. I'm going to give you 2 questions as an assignment, as an exercise. Question number 1 is, where am I not making requests in my life? And that's the question I want you to write down. Where am I not making requests in my life? And I want you to take a look at your life. Where are you not making requests? Now, good insight into your life could be a blind spot. is where you're not making requests is an area of your life that's not working for you. So if you're not thriving financially and you're not in the financial position that you want to be, maybe through having a bank account or multiple revenue streams or the money you would like to have or the financial lifestyle you want to create, you're not making requests. If you're not thriving in your relationship with your spouse, your partner, significant other, in terms of travel and trips and going to the spa or going to the massage or date nights or walks on a beach, things like that, you're not making requests. If you're not thriving with your children or your family and you're not doing the things that you want to do, you're not making requests. If your business is not thriving in terms of referrals and people endorsing your company or promoting your company, you're not making requests. So what you do is you look at where am I not making requests, and you be honest with yourself, where am I not making requests? Inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. Inspect it and expect it. So the key thing is, so that's question number one, where am I not making requests in my life? The second question, as part of the exercise, is who do I become when I don't make requests? And I want you to really look at your life of who do you become as a human being when you're not making requests. And I'll share with you from experience that most people play way too small in their life. Most people are contracting versus expanding. Most people are coming from lack and scarcity versus abundance and prosperity. We live in an abundant world. We live in an abundant planet. Most people are being stingy. They're being self-centered and self-focused. Being a go-giver, they're being a go-getter. And what I want you to look at is that when you're not making requests, so who do you become when you're not making requests? Because remember this, your success is someone else's miracle. Your success is someone else's miracle. So if you go out there and thrive in your sales career, your business, and you make a lot of money, you can build churches, you can build schools, you can write checks for children's hospitals, you can sponsor underprivileged children, you can revitalize your whole neighborhood, you can build a park, you can build a community gardens, you could build a supply for a broken bus in your neighborhood. There's so many things that you could do as a wish list in your local neighborhood, your community that you could support and serve, because your success is someone else's miracle. So when you realize, so if you look at my life and with the Darren Jacklin Group of companies, with Link Foundation, with the Link Leadership Academy, all things that we do, I am constantly making requests all the time, making requests, and people are accepting, declining, or counteroffering the requests. But so many people feel lit up and inspired because I'm always making requests, because so many people are always waiting for an invitation. I feel all the time, why don't you just ask me, Darren? Why don't you ask me? I'd love to help out, love to be involved. Let me help you with the Link Foundation. Let me help out with your schools over in Africa. Love to be involved. Just waiting for an invitation. But most people are too shy, or they don't want to. Oh, he's busy. I don't want to interrupt him. I don't want to send him a text message or an email or send a message to social media. He's busy. We're all busy. Just make a request and let people choose powerfully whether they'll accept, decline, or counteroffer. But when you really take some time to look at question number one is, where am I not requesting in my life? And you just take a look at your life. And I recommend on a quarterly basis, minimum, do this every 90 days. Take a look at your life. Where am I not making requests in my life? Then look at question number two is, who do I become as a human being when I'm not making requests? And just take a look and ask for feedback. Ask your spouse or partner or significant other. Ask people in your network or inner circle, who do I become when I'm not making requests? And I'll tell you, when I meet with people and I see people that are struggling financially, or they've peaked out in their business, or their relationship isn't thriving, or the relationships they want with their kids are not thriving, we just do a deeper dive. We drill down to the root cause, and they're not making requests. And that's a powerful way. When you start working on this and you start doing these actions, you'll be amazed at the life, because you'll start to realize that those 7,000 goals that I've written out, most of my goals don't require my actions. I can hire virtual assistants. I can automate things. I can systemize things that while I'm sleeping, my goals and dreams are being worked on and being achieved. I wake up sometimes and my goals of my 7,000 goals are being achieved from virtual assistants in the Philippines and India. As I'm having this interview with you right now, I have goals and dreams around the world that are being worked on and being achieved as I'm doing this interview with you right now, because I have multiple people working on them. Now, some people say, well, Darren, I don't have any money. Great. I've been there multiple times in my life. Here's what you can do. Contact a university or college and contact the business section. talk to a professor, talk to somebody who runs the business. And there's lots of universities and colleges around the world. You can have the physical bricks and mortar university and colleges in major centers, or you can go online. There's thousands and thousands of universities and colleges. And you can reach out to these college universities and say, listen, I'm a young, thriving entrepreneur or business person. And, I'm on a shoestring budget right now. I've got no money. But what I need to do is I need somebody to help me with all the non-income producing activities. I need to do research or do up a business plan or do my social media and social marketing. I need to help them put together a list of contacts or prospects to call. And I've done this where I've enrolled universities and colleges. In fact, we've got a university coming to us in the next quarter. We've got about 30 students going to be working with us, all volunteer. Nobody's paid. Everybody's virtual. They're international students. And all we need to do at the end of the semester is do a review on each student and evaluation that goes towards their degree. So there's many ways that you can get people to help and work with you that you don't have to financially pay them. And you can help them take care of things that are non-income producing, not revenue generating around you. And it's dangerous. And you serve them and you mentor them and coach them. And some of these people they're green, they're brand new. So they're young men and women. They're just getting out into the workforce or college university students. So give them a chance. Sometimes they're first or second year students, but you can mentor and coach them. In fact, you can actually delegate to somebody else, which I do, who actually becomes the team leader. And the team leader then just reports to you as a direct. So you're not accountable, responsible for 30 people. You're accountable for 1 or 2 people or 3 people that are your directs, little pods. And so you got the Alpha team, the Bravo team, right? The Charlie team, the Delta, the Echo team. So I name the pods like the Alpha team, the Bravo team, the Delta team, the Charlie team, the Echo team, the Foxtrot team. And these are the different pods that are virtual pod teams that work with me that are all university college students. In fact, I'm guest speaking just in 2 weeks from now. I'm going to speak at a university to actually have a conversation with some MBA students, Master's of Business Administration, MBA students, Master's of Business Administration, I think it is. See, I don't know that. I don't know what college university, but I'm going to speak to these students to talk to them in regards to them volunteering with the Darren Jack Group of companies and with Link Foundation with what we're working on. So, and I don't have to know what an MBA means. I just have to know how to have a conversation with people and share them with what we're doing and invite them to, by making a request, to participate with what we're doing. And it's amazing what will happen. So if you take what I'm sharing with you today and you apply it, you will start to see measurable results start to happen in your life, personally, professionally.
That's super inspiring. I love your resourcefulness. I love your, just how you take a step back and you kind of look around it, you look through it, you explore the different avenues that one can take to step away from where you are currently to where you wish to be. That's and right. Then you're constantly checking in and you're constantly looking to see, okay, what's my next goal? And then you're bringing in collaboration, you're finding partnerships, and you're constantly on the lookout for making more of an impact. And then you're bringing people along with you on the journey. It's not about standing on somebody to get ahead. It's how do we kind of link arms and raft down the river together? And so there was something in there which I wanted to express, and I was you're sharing this ask. And for me, I'm so incredibly grateful that I sent you an invitation to join the Ripple Revolution. And I hope the audience is grateful for the information which Darren's sharing here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
But we're coming to our time here, and I just want to express my immense gratitude for everything, just your time and your energy and your willingness to give, and how you show up in the world, and how you've navigated so many obstacles which would have caused most people to stumble and halt and even just give up. You faced suicide, and you chose a path of service. And I want to just say thank you. Just say I admire the strength, and I hope that the strength that Darren has shown through his life can give somebody hope. It gives them a point where they can start to see the inner child in them, and they can honor the inner child in them, and they can move towards something. Just take an imperfect action. Do something, but just don't stay where you are. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You are responsible for your choices, but ask. we're not on this journey alone. We're traveling together. There's so many people out there who want people to succeed. And Darren's one of those people. Like following him on social media is really empowering. And just seeing the work that he does and how he's influencing so many people's lives. At this point, I want to make an introduction. There's an area which Darren has touched on, and it's his Link Foundation, Leaders Yielding to New Knowledge. And this is an incredible contribution that you're making. You've committed $100 million to this foundation. And before Darren's going to share a little bit about it, but we're so encouraged, inspired, and just grateful for Darren's commitment to future generations, which is the core driving essence, the soul of the Ripple Revolution. That we're going to be donating 25% of all lifetime access sales to Darren's foundation, so that he can continue to do his ripples. Darren, would you like to share a little bit about the work that Link does?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that generosity. I really appreciate that. And the children will really be grateful for that. So I learned many years ago that the secret to living is giving, and that our success is someone else's miracle. And I've been grateful in my life to have people sponsor me over the years to go on humanitarian trips around the world, primarily in third world countries. I've had a chance to travel all over North America many times and be on many different cities and countries and continents. And so I've had a chance to be in 50 countries now on 4 continents so far. And what I realized being over on the African continent was a lot of times people over there forgot, they're not aware of, they're forgotten. Like they're in small little rural villages. They have no running water, no electricity. And the challenge is they become targets for human and child sex trafficking. And these traffickers, these men and women, they find people that are vulnerable in these places that lack the education. They live in a remote little village, and they go in there and they come in there as nice people, and they end up doing a grooming process. They groom these people, and then they steal their children. And then these mothers and fathers who live there can't defend themselves because they don't have means of transportation. They're a little rural village and stuff like that. And so going on these different humanitarian trips I've done over the last decade of my life, and it's just blessed me so much in my life that, the intention is to go over there and serve these people, make a difference in their lives, which we do. But the return on investment of energy and what they do for us is just so much greater. It's incredible. And I invite people to take a humanitarian trip through a nonprofit, or through a church group, or through a community event, or maybe through Link Foundation sometime. Come with us on the trips that we do. And so meeting with different women in the villages and sitting down with them around a campfire at nighttime with no electricity, no running water underneath the stars, and asking them in conversation, if we could make a wish happen in this village, what would it be? And first thing they do is always say education. If you could build a little school and provide education. So right now with Link Foundation, we've actually built our first Link Leadership Academy over in Liberia, West Africa. And people always say, why Liberia? Darren, you've been to Uganda, you've been to Kenya, you've been to all these other countries. Why Liberia? Liberia is in the top 5 poorest countries on the planet. Extreme hardship, extreme poverty. And when you go there, you'll always remember how grateful your life is. And so there's a young guy named Paul who back in 2018, October 2018, Tatiana, I did a humanitarian trip there. And Tatiana, my partner in my life, she was a high school teacher for 35 years. She's got 3 academic degrees from the top universities in Canada. She's bilingual in French and English language. And I helped retire her from being a local teacher here in Vancouver, Canada, to be now becoming a global teacher through the Link Foundation and Link Leadership Academy. So we built our first Link Leadership Academy in Liberia, West Africa, from preschool to grade 6. We have over 300 children right now attending school for the first time ever in their lives. And some people that live in these villages will walk for miles just to have a dream for their child to attend education. And so we're doing a fundraising event here in about a month's time. I've got a bunch of professional athletes, Olympic athletes coming here to Vancouver, Canada. We're going to hike 15 miles, 23.5 kilometers up a mountain to raise money. And that money will be used, 100% of that money, because Link Foundation is now a registered charity in Canada. And we're in process to be a 501c3 in the United States of America over the next year. And Tatiana and I pay for all the expenses of the foundation out of our other group of companies. And down the road, we're going to build for-profit businesses that will feed into Link Foundation to pay the operational overhead expenses. so that when people give of their hard-earned dollars, that money will go to the field to create a ripple of impact, not for overhead administration expenses. Because we got our money right, and we're financially disciplined, and we're in integrity with our money. And that's the key thing, is when people take their hard-earned dollars, we want to make sure that it's verifiable, that their money goes to create a ripple of impact. And so what the things we're doing right now with Link Foundation, if people want to contribute, they can contribute to Link Foundation, to the link, and all the money goes. And we're going to build classrooms 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 to finish off our first pilot school of Link Leadership Academy, 7 through 12. And in 2023, we're going to build a new playground, because play does so much for a community. And it does so much. There's so much research on play. And unfortunately, a lot of schools today around the world are not allowing children to play as much. But play does so much for creativity, imagination, teamwork, communications, collaboration, building trust and safety for people, and also dealing with childhood trauma as well. And so we have the little school built, and the Link Leadership Academy. We're going to be building more schools across Africa and building for-profit business to create sustainability and economic development opportunities. Because the next generation, because parts of the world have an aging population of baby boomers. Well, Africa and the India continents right now, they have a young explosion of young men and women. And in the next 10 to 15 years, Africa, India could be the emerging market centers of the world in terms of economic development, of job creation and businesses. And so we're in this together. We're a global village today, and we all breathe the same air. And so it's just so rewarding to do this. And it feels so right. It feels so good to serve. And, you know, we've looked at projects throughout North America and internationally, but there's already a lot of government organizations and nonprofit groups and service clubs and community groups. We wanted to go in places with Link Foundation where people are not being served and helped. And we're not giving them a handout. We're giving them a hand up. We're providing them with education, not only the academia they get from the government for our school curriculum, but we're providing them experiential entrepreneurship and business development training. So these children, as they grow up, they get a choice whether they want to go into the academic world and want to go into get a job or work in the governments or work in professional careers, or they want to become self-employed or entrepreneurs or become farmers or doctors or people, cattle ranchers, whatever they want to do. But we allow them based on their personality style to give them choices in their life. And so it's immensely rewarding in our lives to do this. And so I invite people to watch us on social media, participate if you can, to your time, your talent, your treasures. But we're doing some really, really big things with Link Foundation, Link Leadership Academy. And it's a fun experience. So follow us on social media, like us, comment, and follow the journey and be inspired. If you're having a tough day, follow what we're doing, because it will give you juice, it will give you energy, and it will inspire you. And it will give you hope and possibility that your worst day is somebody else's dream day, and you'll be a contribution to them.
That's awesome. Thank you. I love the work you're doing. And I just want to echo one of the pieces out of that is that we are in this together.
Yes.
Like, I think there's a fundamental shift now where we, as the leaders, have the ability to change the life of so many people. It's not their problem. There's problems all over the world. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just symptoms of a broken system. And we have the opportunity to create new systems and new opportunities so that these people don't have to, like, the life they're born into doesn't need to be a life sentence. Mm-hmm. We can bring and share resources around the world faster and easier than we've ever been able to do. And it's selfish for us not even to try. Yeah. And so I admire the work you're doing, and with immense gratitude and also with immense excitement that we can be a part of it. And so I want to just share, it's like there's a link in the comments below to Darren's foundation, and also a link so that you can contribute more if you wish to. We're providing 25% to Darren's foundation, and happy to do so. And also there's a link there for Darren's book, Until I Become, which I highly recommend. It's a really enjoyable read. It's really empowering. You can pick it up at pretty much any point, and just the takeaway messages and the important points after each of the chapters are really powerful. I find it great just to sort of address our choices. It's like it's just a nudge or a reminder that, like, we are the sum of our choices. So I want to just, in closing now, I believe that we all must make and take imperfect actions now for the benefit of future generations. So if you were to take away, what action could the viewer take today using the information that you've generally shared that would not only enrich their life, but those around them for future generations? Is there one action you would recommend, Darren?
One is ask for help is a big thing, asking for help. And then also when the student is ready, the teachers appear. So when you're ready, the teachers around you, whether virtually or in person, will appear in your life. So whatever your life, personally or professionally, people will show up and appear in your life when you're ready. So write out the type of mentor or coach that you want in your life. What's an area of your life that you want to go to work on, that you want a growth opportunity, that you want a level of increase? And write that down, whether it's in your relationship, your finances, your spirituality, your job, your career, your business, whatever you're going through, right? Because every human being is solving for something in their life. We're all solving problems all the time in our lives or challenges. So write it out and then trust the process and allow yourself to be open to receiving and surrender that to receiving, and that person will come into your life. You'd be amazed. Sometimes in a matter of a couple Hours. I've set the intention. I went for a walk sometimes and said, okay, I'm solving this problem right now. I don't know how to do it. Because the key thing in life is it's always about the who, not the how. Always remember that. It's always about the who, not the how. People get into a challenge or a crisis like, well, how am I going to solve this? Pick up the phone and make a phone call and collaborate with somebody that's like-minded to help you with that, right? Wherever you are in your life, it's all about shared resources and about a network of people. Because here's something to consider looking at. If we're up in the International Space Station looking down on the planet right now, and we see all the human beings on the planet Earth, all we are is a network of conversations. That's all we are. We're a network of conversations. Everything you really, really, really want in your life is going to come from talking to strangers. Because strangers are everything you want, everything you need, everything you desire in your life. So it's about making requests to strangers, because we're just a network of conversations. We're having a network of conversations right now. That's all we are as human beings. So everything we want is through shared resources, through a network of conversations. So start having more and more conversations. That's what it is with me. If you watch my life, I'm just having lots of conversations with people.
That's incredible. I don't want this interview to end, and I have to ask one more thing for you to share with us. And it's, I want you to introduce your must-meet list.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So I'll take you for a little walk here in my home office here. This is my must-meet list. This is also in the book, Until I Become. So this here is 100 people from around the world from all different walks of humanity. And these men and women are people that are on my must-meet list, because proximity is power. And it's not what we know, it's who we know, it's who they know that knows us. And so I create these must-meet lists. In fact, what I do is I just create a list of the names that I delegate it to virtual assistants. They go onto the internet and they source the photographs. And then I have a local print store here in Vancouver, Canada, that gets emailed electronically to them. And a few weeks later, they manifest this beautiful must-meet list. And so these are people that I want to meet with. It could be just a 10-minute conversation. It could be a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner. It could be a couple of days with them. I may want to have them on a panel with me. They may be a consultant or a coach or a mentor or mastermind partner with some of our group of companies or with Link Foundation. Sometimes I just want to study them and learn from them, what their history and experiences, what they've done in their lives. And so every person is unique and every person is different. But, they have a most wanted posters with law enforcement. But I like to have a must-meet list of people that I'm inspired to learn from, because we stand on the shoulders of giants. This here also, I'll show you here. This is actually my sword. I want to be careful because it's a real sword. This is a real sword. This is when I got knighted to become a Sir Darren Jacklin. This is an actual real sword from the royal family of Spain. And then this is from the royal family out of Spain. This is the Knight of Merit for me becoming a Sir Darren Jacklin, is a legal merit from the royal family. And so I have this in my home office as a reminder of how far I've come and that I'm here to be in service to other people. So I've got my must-meet list right here, and I've got my sword, and I've got my Knight of Merit from being knighted as the Sir Darren Jacklin. So I share this to inspire other people that it's possible, because who'd ever thought 10 years ago that I ever become knighted as a Sir, one of the very few people in the world to actually become a Sir Darren Jacklin.
That's hugely inspiring. And I just close on that. It's like, if anybody is having doubts as to where they are in their life, there is somebody here right now who's just shared generously so much useful and practical tools which can turn your life around. And Darren has come from being sort of broke, wanting to commit suicide, to being hugely successful and hugely impactful. So I just want to say thank you from the core of my being for being a part of the Ripple Revolution.
I'm grateful to be here and to be in service. And thanks everyone for qualifying their time to be here as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Darren.
My pleasure to be in service.